Well, I took some photos of an osprey in Pensacola, Florida this last year, and I thought they'd be a great reference for a painting because the sky was kind of blue, kind of drab. The photos themselves aren't spectacular, but I thought, oh, maybe I could put this osprey flying through a misty forest, give it some life. And so that's what I did here. First, starting with the trees. Really, this is just a ton of layers. I put down a tree, then I go over top of it with blue or yellow to kind of push it back, and then do another layer. And I experimented with different brushes on this to see which ones would look good for deciduous trees and which ones would look good for the conifer trees. Some of the conifer trees are actually painted with a grass brush on top of, I put some strokes down to indicate, okay, this is where the branch is, and then I would come back and paint on top of that with a grass brush in Procreate to give it that feeling of pine needles. And using an ink, calligraphy ink pen to do the trees. And again, it's a layer and then a layer of white or yellow over top of that to kind of give it that foggy, misty look. And then I blurred it a lot and then just put back in a little bit of contrast. And you'll see that in just a second. It's really probably 15 different layers on top of this, of these trees, until I get the look that I want. And I don't make you watch the whole thing here. I'm going to speed it up here in just a second. And you can see the finished background with all the layers. There it is. You can see that. It's kind of out of focus, but you get the idea. And then for the bird, I just drew a silhouette first. Instead of doing a real detailed drawing, drew a silhouette. Then I could play with that in the composition. You can see there with the rule of thirds. And there's a sketch over top of the bird to show me the pattern shapes. And for the osprey, this is not really a difficult painting to do. Basically, I just colored in all of those little sketch marks that I had there for the shapes of the feathers with kind of a reddish orange brown first, then came back in with more of like a burnt umber kind of dark brown color to give some depth to the feathers. And then I used like a cream color for the underside of the osprey. And you'll see this is just layer after layer. And I'm not going to make you watch this whole thing, me drawing all this out. You get the idea. This is basically how it was done. All these layers, then I came back in and delineated the feathers. And then I would put a whole layer of color over top of that, like a brown or a yellow. You can see there I use some blue for shadow. And then you'll see right here I knock it all back with brown and then try to build back up the layer. And that's what I did for the wing. Both wings are done pretty much the same way. And I'm going to jump ahead here, pretty big jump in just a second. You'll see that because it's just the same thing. Put in the layer, go over it with a color, come back maybe with a little cream or white, and just paint it. So here you can see, if you look closely, there's little details that I'm painting in there. And on the osprey this time, I did use an overlay layer with a mask, with one with blue for shadows and another one with a cream color with a mask for the highlights, just to make them pop. You can see some of those highlights coming in there. But that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe.